If you're going to take on this project, I highly encourage you to watch the entire series, or not series, I guess, watch all of the video all the way to the very end and make sure that you have the ability to see all the mistakes I overcame, hurdles that you might have to work through. There's a lot of important things in there. So I encourage you to watch the entire video before you purchase any materials and make any decisions on anything. With that, let's get to work. So because this is such an odd angle, it's not like just straight on plank, I don't have anything to support it. So I had to take a couple extra sheets of plywood and just kind of shim underneath so that we could at least get it supported while we do our cut. So I'm just going to move on to the skill saw, cutting off the two end pieces, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, that worked out very well. This here is, I think, how I want it to look. That means that I'm going to have to do glue up, at least for the pieces that are going to be going along here. I'm not going to go on the surface. This is as high as I want it. So they're just going to be planks that will go across like this. And then they'll be secured on that side. And again, we're going to cover up all those fasteners with angle brackets that we're going to use. Yeah, so I guess we're on cutting wood. Bear with me here, I'm near a fighter base and they're launching aircraft at training exercises. So I want to try to conserve as much material as I can. I have the one plank that's left. Obviously I could still use this to some extent. But what we're looking at is trying to accommodate the overall length. Now the overall length of the box is 24 inches. The two ends, which are going to be these, one here and one on this side, they're actually going to be this wide, so almost an inch wide. So we don't need to go 24 inches long for any of the planks that we're going to be making. But what we do need to do is we need to make sure that the widths are what we need. And like I was saying, I was hoping to do this using the planks that I have, but I'm not going to be able to because this dimension from here to here is roughly 7 inches, and I will definitely be oversizing that. So that needs to be 8 inches. What I've come up with a plan is I'm going to need all my pieces to be 23.5 inches long. That's where it's starting, but don't cut anything yet because I need to make sure this is going to work first. So 23.5 inches long, and those are rough cuts because I'm going to trim those down. I just want to have the extra material to trim off and creep up on it like we've done with other things. So they're going to need to be, I'm going to need two planks that are 3 inches wide by the 23.5, and then I'm going to need one that goes across the center section, and that's going to be 5.5 inches wide, and that'll be fine because my material is 6 inches roughly. And then I'm going to need the pieces that go here, and what I'm thinking about doing is cutting two 4-inch wide ones, gluing those together, and obviously 23.5 inches long to keep up on it. I believe I've got enough of this left over. Again, don't cut it yet. We'll watch and see how it turns out, and then we'll share the final dimensions with you from there. So this is where things went pear-shaped. I thought I could get away with 20 square feet. It looks like 20 board feet. It looks like I'm gonna have to end up getting at least another 6-inch length with, 6-inch wide by probably 48 inches to be safe. I counted for all of it except for the actual end pieces. Go figure. I mean, I have enough on this one right here, but that's it. I am out of wood, and on top of that, it's not really fully 6 inches wide. So this is what we ended up doing though. The overall dimensions got 3 inches for the front and the back, right? We got our 5.5 for the center, that's this here. And then I ended up using the the end cuts, or I guess what was remaining material of these two pieces, and we'll glue those together, and that will give us more than our 7 inches. So that'll all work out. But I'm making a trip to the store because I'm gonna have to get another plank. Yeah, because I'm not big on the way that one looks. So I definitely will want to get another plank at least for the end pieces. So lesson learned. Try not to go too conservative when you're doing your board feet calculations. We're back on track. Ended up getting one more plank, and it was a beauty. Really nice swirls, marble patterns that it's going to go on the sides. Now, I couldn't go 6 inches, right? The boards themselves, the closest I could find to 6 inches was basically 5 7/8. Then you still got to edge it. So what we ended up with was 5 3/4 inch pieces. So now we need to make this. We took this template and we liked what we saw from it. We got a good idea on how we were going to make our dimension it. And now we got to transfer that to these pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that. This here is obviously oversized because it's now 6 inches. Can't play with that. So what I had to do is first start out by finding the middle of each one of these pieces. And you can simply do that by, if you have a combination square, that's one way of doing it, and just taking it, putting it on, making a mark, and then going to the other side, and then making sure that it's the same distance. So you'll have to move this back and forth in order to find the dead center. And then I did the same thing with the centerpiece. This is the piece that's going to go down the middle, okay? Down the very middle, I should say. And I did the same exact thing there. I just took the smaller one. You can use the big one too, and then I just ended up marking that center there. Then from there, I took that mark on the center one, lined it up with the center of this piece, and now I made my marks here. That is these ones here. So now I have that one done. Now, we said that we wanted the front to be 3 inches high. So I'll take that and I put the 3-inch piece on there and I marked that one off. Then I just connected the lines. So I'll do the same on this piece here, and we'll go ahead and cut those end pieces off using the track saw. You got to be very careful with it. Make sure that the wood doesn't slip on you when you're cutting it, because this is going to be critical now. This is where you're going to mate up those side pieces, and if the cut is off, it's not going to align correctly. So yeah, take your time. I could not be any happier with how these two end pieces turned out. Very, very nice. Very happy with them, nice crisp cuts. The track saw works wonderfully for this. So when you get to that step, if you hadn't already, you'll be thanking me for it. The next step is to cut all the planks that are going to be inserted in here to the correct lengths, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. It's basically just the inside dimensions of the box minus the two ends. So we'll want to make sure that we cut those to the right length. I'm going to use my crosscut sled to do that. You can still use your circular saw with it'd be really tight fit on the 3-inch ones with your track saw if you wanted to try to do that. You could also do it with a miter gauge on your table saw, however you want to do it. You can hand saw it if you wanted, but I'll show you how I'm going to measure them, and then we're going to dry fit these. So I'll countersink a couple holes, put some screws in them. I'm not going to glue them at that stage. And then I'll do the centerpiece as well. And then we'll have to figure out these side panels. They're going to have to get beveled. I may even have to bevel, all of them. But I want a nice fit there, obviously. So I don't know that, a side panel, if this was the case, it's going to come in there. We'd be removing it'd be quite a sharp angle to come down on that. But I mean, it's not like it's impossible. Now, granted, we're using these here, but let's get started on cutting these to the right shape. All right, so the front and the back pieces. Oh, by the way, before I forget to. So what I've also done is how this whole thing is set up. I've also labeled these. So like this one here, I've labeled D. Here's A, so that when I put them together, I know that D is going to go with D, and etc. all the way around. I highly encourage you to go ahead and at least get that all set up at the beginning before you get too far into it. That way you remember how you wanted them oriented. So now we need to cut these to the right length as we just talked about. And you can see that we oversized it. We oversized them intentionally. So we had some to go with, right? So I'm just going to take a scrap piece of wood. You could also just simply measure from here to here. I'm trying to get as perfect of a fit that I can get. So I'm going to start off with a scrap piece. And I got a screw in there. I'm going to start off with a scrap piece, and then I'm going to try to get that to fit. I'm going to get that, I shouldn't say try, I'm going to get that to fit so I know exactly how wide it is, and then I'll mark that off. I'll even cut it a little bit larger than size. I'll probably do the same with the back, just to make sure that I don't have, I shouldn't have any difference. I mean, there should be the same, but weird things happen. We got 22 and 1 2/3/8. 22 and 1 2/3/8. Well, so it's going to be good. Anyway, you look at it, but that's what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to use a scrap piece, get it to fit. It should fit as snug as possible. Now, the reason why we're going to the insides, because remember, these are going to be on here. So with those being in place, this piece here is just going to be right up to the inside piece, right? So it's going to butt up like that. And then there's going to be a piece on this side. So we're going to have to trim this down to accommodate that. That's how we're going to do it. So let's cut the scrap piece, and then we'll cut these pieces as well as our other ones. Now we're going to use the same technique that we used when we put the screws in for the panels. I want to, though, make sure that I leave room for a couple rustic nails. I'm going to put some rustic nails in this. That's where the project's going. You'll see those. They look like the studs that are along the edges. And so I want to kind of be strategic where I put them. But first and foremost, I know that I'm going to want the screw to go down the center of these two sidewalls. So I'll take my combination square, set it to about the center. We know that the screws are going to go through here and into here. So I'm just going to mark that off if I can. Okay. And then I'm going to put down where I think I want the rustic nails. I'm going to use 2 of them. If I put a screw here in the center, then I'm going to put a rustic nail probably about right here and about right here. So that means that I'm going to want a screw down here, and I want another screw about the middle. And that should be enough. I think I'm up enough from the bottom there I could go ahead and measure that up on the same side, but yep, so right there. I'll do the same thing. I know where I want this one here too. So yeah, so that's all you gotta do is just mark these off, and then you'll know where you're gonna end up putting the screws. And then if you have the punch, like I mentioned, I know where I want my nails or my screws to go. I drew circles for those. That's simple. Now we're gonna go ahead and countersink those. First I'll draw these lines. I won't bore you with that. All right, so I've secured my 2 panels. I've lined them up. They're nice and flush all the way around. And I almost forgot to mention why I wanted to make these so low. I don't know that, and not put one up at the top. I don't know that I'm gonna end up having to bevel this at some point. Like I said, all the planks are gonna have to fit together. We're not certain how that's gonna happen exactly just yet. So I just wanna make sure that I'm securing these as low as possible. That gives me room to go ahead and do my bevels if I have to. Also, I'm continuing to use the 1 1/4 inch deck screws that I used on it. They'll just be for the entire project. Now, if you've hung with me this far into the project, congratulations. We're moving on to what I believe will be the most challenging part of the project. And that is to fit these last 2 panels, because they're gonna have to get beveled. I did try to do it by hand with the hand plane. I got these beautiful shavings, and I got this extreme angle in order to try to get that to fit. And it does, and it looks very nice. It joins up very nicely. But the work that would go into trying to get those absolutely perfect for this one, this one, this one, and this one, if I screw it up, I ain't got enough wood, and I'm not going back to the store again. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which would be beveling these 2, the front and back side panels, or side boards, whatever you want to call them. If I'm able to bevel those down this way, then another piece that comes on, I can do a less of an aggressive bevel, because the problem is my table saw won't go to this angle. So if I try to compensate, put a bevel on this one, then the bevel on this one don't have to be that extreme. So yeah, let's move on to that. Don't cut yours yet until I figure out what it is that I'm doing. I do know this much. When they do fit together, when we're done, on the inside there will be a small gap between these 2 and these 2 and these 2. That's just the way it's gonna have to be for right now, because I don't have the time to do it. If you're able to do it by hand, kudos to you. I'm gonna move on to this. I'm gonna move these and I'll bevel them down. And this was the whole point of doing the dry setup, is to make sure, in case we had any problems, that we were able to disassemble it. So we haven't glued it yet, is what I mean by that. So before you remove, or actually I should say when you remove these, make sure you've marked what section you want to take off. So I know that it's going to be at this angle. It's actually going to be from this tip going down. I'm going to go with roughly a 45-degree angle. Just make sure when you set it up on your saw, it's going to be that way, and your blade is also angled that direction. So we're going to take it right up to this lip, but remember, we want to maintain this 3-inch wide piece. So creep up on it. Don't, if best thing I can do best thing I can say is start with something that'll take off this much, and then continue to move your fence until you get to that point where you're just there. Don't take it all off though. Just get to, I don't know, leave like a 1/16, maybe just a hair more, and try that. That significantly changes this. So again, I went roughly 45-degree angle for this. It really doesn't matter. I mean, I could have went a lot less extreme, but I just wanted to make sure that when I do this, that whatever the lip is going to come, it'll be at enough angle here. I can do the same now. I don't have to have these perfect. They don't have to be perfectly together. So I will have, like I said, I will have a bit of a gap there. But now I don't need to do, like I said, as much. I can go ahead and I could go at I don't know, goodness. I could go at the same angle. I could just go at the same angle and put it on and see what happens. So let's do that with the scrap piece, see what we got. As I say, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So that works great. Now I can join these two pieces together. I can put this whatever angle I want. Yeah, I'm gonna have a little bit of a gap in there, but it'll be on the inside. You won't be able to see it. And I can also do the same angle for up here. See, still have a little bit of a, this angle right there. So I'll still have a little bit of a gap there. I'm not worried about that. Now, what we want to do is these here need to be cut to that angle, right? So, but before I do that, I need to make sure that I understand the length from here to here, there to there. That is going to be the widest part of this piece, okay? So obviously if I went like that now, it wouldn't fit, but I can definitely get that in there. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to find out what this width is right here. I'm going to cut the planks to fit those. Make sure you're labeling everything, and then we'll bevel them from there. I believe I've figured out how this is going to work. So I took a scrap piece of wood and I measured from this lip right here to the top of this right here. And that ended up being not quite 6 3/4. So I took that scrap piece of wood and I went ahead and I set my saw to 6 3/4, and I cut the straight edges. Then I went ahead and beveled one of them, whatever that angle was, 40, 45, whatever, roughly around there. And then I just kept crunching it or moving in the fence until I ended up beveling it just right. And I left it there. I took another scrap piece that was bigger than this just to make sure that I wouldn't have to make any other adjustments to the blade or to the fence, and it was oversized. I ran it through once this way, I turned it around and ran it through once that way, and that's what I got. I got a piece that fits very nicely. I like it. And it's a little over, that's fine. I've still got the gap, so I can sand this even with both of these, sand them flush, I should say, with both of the surfaces. All right, I'm gonna press on with this because now I have everything set up. It's a matter of just cutting it down now. So I think because I used a much thinner piece than these pieces here, they ended up being a little oversized. Great, I'd rather have them oversized. You can always remove material. So I'll just creep up on these a little, again, I'll just sneak up on them. I'll bring my fence in, maybe an 1/8 of an inch. I'll try 16th, about a 16th of an inch, and we'll just get these panels fit. But I do like how they're looking so far. It's looking good. Ta-da! It worked. I like it. I'm very happy with it. So now I gotta secure these here. But we'll screw those in, so we'll orient them the way we need to. We'll secure them in just like we did for this one here and the two sides. And yeah, use that method. That worked for me anyway. So it should work for you. And just make sure you creep up on it, take your time, and you should have similar results. So I'm gonna go ahead and secure these, and then the next thing will be, we'll probably be sanding the whole thing. And except for the very front, we already did that one, the 150. That's it for that, and then we'll end up putting our trim on, so that'll be the next step. I almost forgot to mention, so when I put I'm going to put in 3 fasteners on all ends. Just make sure that when you do it, I didn't accurately measure these out, but what I did is I put one basically in the center, just eyeballing, one away from the edge, another one from the edge. I did the same. Do that same and try to put them all in the same locations on all 4 areas. Because remember, we're going to be putting in those studs, those tacks, if you will. So we want to make sure that when we do put the tacks in, that they're not going to be like one is here and one is over here, and then the next one is like real close because of the screw heads. So we want to keep those uniform.